Hi Hovians, Harry here. I hope you all had a lovely Christmas. Hope Santa got you every present that you wanted. And I know that there's one present that we all got, which is the Doctor Who Christmas special. The first Christmas special we have had for Doctor Who for 6 years. That's right, Twice Upon a Time was that long ago. So it's just amazing to finally have the Christmas special back in Doctor Who. It feels like Christmas Day it feels like that's where Doctor Who belongs. It belongs on Christmas Day, and this episode was amazing. We finally got the first full episode of Ncuti Gatwa's 15th Doctor, and the first episode of Ruby Sunday, Millie Gibson's Ruby Sunday, the companion to the Doctor. And this episode was just fun. It just was. It was just a fun, light-hearted episode to get us introduced to the Doctor, introduced to this new era, and, well, I really enjoyed it. And this video is going to go over just my thoughts on this episode. But before we get into that, don't forget to subscribe, also leave a like and comment down below, and let's get in to the video. So, of course, I want to talk about the 15th Doctor first. This is the first full episode that we have of him, and he is amazing. He is very upbeat, jovial, and it feels like this is actually how he feels, rather than primarily what the 9th and 10th Doctor, they always hid behind a sort of facade of acting jovial, but underneath it, they were tortured by the events that had happened. However, this Doctor actually seems upbeat and jovial. He doesn't feel tortured by events from his past, because it is implied that, from the giggle, the previous episode, that the 14th Doctor underwent therapy living with the Noble family, and that's why the 15th Doctor is happy and upbeat. And it's just so nice to see a happy Doctor. It feels like after after everything he's done for the universe, it feels like he should be happy. And there's something weird going on, because we get introduced to Ruby Sunday very quickly. She is the first scene after the titles play. She is the first person, we see after the titles play. And it's just going on about her life and how she is, she was found on a church doorstep. That's where this episode gets its title from, the church on Ruby Road, because Ruby was found on a church doorstep on the road, Ruby Road. And I just think that's quite cool, because she gets her name from the road, and later on, when her foster mum is fostering a newborn baby, she says, I was lucky with having the name Ruby. I bet this baby has a Christmassy name, because all the babies in Christmas films and shows have a very Christmassy name. So that's a good nod to those Christmas films and Christmas movies. However, I did mention that there was something weird going on, because the Doctor seems to be looking out for Ruby Sunday, and it even plays, and it even comes apparent very early into the episode, because even before the titles play, the first scene is the Doctor watching Ruby be abandoned by her mother at the church, and it's just the Star Beast, the first special of the Doctor Who 60th anniversary, and the Church on Ruby Road, this special, the first special of kind of the new era of Doctor Who, both started with a narration by the Doctor, which is a bit of a coincidence. What was that? Anyway, let's move on. So, it seems like the Doctor has been put in place to watch over Ruby by someone, or he was aware of temporal shifts, because the 14th Doctor did say that he can sense time, and maybe he knew that goblins were honing in on Ruby, so it's maybe that's why he's watching over her. But it seems like the Doctor knew that something was going on with Ruby, and he is watching over her, making sure that she's protected. as it has been stated by Ruby and other people in this episode that she has had some bad luck. Most specifically by Davina McCall. That is right, she is in this episode playing herself, and she says, well, she is having bad luck like Ruby, and to be honest, I think she's got the worst bad luck, because she gets a plug hit right in the back of her head. She ends up with her arm in a sling, and ends up like on a wheelchair because she's even broken her foot or her leg, and then she almost gets crushed by a Christmas tree. I think she has had the worst luck compared to Ruby. Ruby, your bad luck does not compare in the slightest to Davina McCall. I mean, yes, she was abandoned by her mother, but that wasn't part of the Goblins' plan or part of the Goblins' making bad luck, as far as is implied in this episode. So the bad luck caused by the Goblins, Davina McCall has definitely got the worst of it. But of course, Davina McCall is in this episode playing herself because she actually presents a real show called Long Lost Families, where she tracks someone's heritage who has either lost contact with their family when they were young, like their family gave them up, or like they just got abandoned somewhere by their family. So Davina presents this show and she like helps people find their family, and she's trying to do the same for Ruby. However, it becomes apparent that she can't track down Ruby's family, like her mother has no trace. And I want to say, either we leave it there for Ruby's family, her mother and her father, or her mother and father have to be important. Because there was a little film back in 2017 called The Last Jedi, and a campaign started to strike that episode from canon because Rey's parents were nobodies, and all the baiting that happened with that Rey's family were important. It kind of came true with The Rise of Skywalker, but that was bad for a whole different reason. But there was this campaign on The Last Jedi to strike it from canon because people were so upset with Rey's parents being nobodies. So either leave it there for Ruby's parents or make them important in some way, shape or form. However, Ruby's family that we do see are her foster mum and her foster grandma, and they're just so fun. I mean, Carla, which is Ruby's foster mum, is just so full of energy that we know that she's been through a lot, fostering 31 kids, I think, and that is just amazing. Like, she's done so much, and she's just gone through a lot, but she still has energy to burn. It's almost like the Doctor as well. Like, he has gone through so many people, helped so many people, but also lost so many people, but he's still energetic, still up for anything, and I think there's a good parallel with that and Ruby's foster mum, because she's like that. She's gone through a lot. She's seen all her foster kids leave her. The only one that has stayed has been Ruby, but she's still got energy to spare. She still wants to foster kids, so that's just great. And Ruby's foster grandma is just sass queen. She is amazing, and it's just so amazing. Like, when she is talking with the social worker comes because she's dropping off Lulubelle, the baby that Ruby's foster mum is fostering, and she goes, "Oh, I wish I could get you a ground floor flat," and Ruby's foster grandma is like, "I'm not moving from this bed," and she does what is that, like a kiss through the teeth. And Ncuti actually did the same thing in the previous episode. Another coincidence. Did you just hear thunder again? Anyway, moving past that. So, I think there is a good family dynamic again. I mean, we haven't had that since Donna's family. And yes, of course, that was basically the previous episode. But what I mean is back in 2008, we didn't have really any family connections through the Moffat era. Yeah, we had Rory's dad, but he was only in it for like 2-3 episodes, so we didn't get much time with him to really explore the father-son dynamic with him and Rory. And then Yaz's family was quickly tossed aside, as well as Dan's family and Clara's family and Bill's family as well. There was a couple of things with like Graham and Ryan, but they were both companions of the Doctor, so I don't feel like that counts because they were both travelling with the Doctor rather than having a family life to tether the companion to come back to Earth, because they didn't need to go back to Earth because they were both travelling together, Graham and Ryan, with each other. But this brings a good layer that the companions will have to keep coming back to Earth, because Ruby will obviously want to check back in with her foster family to make sure that they're doing okay, and then the Doctor at the same time can make sure everything is okay with the planet Earth. And speaking of Ruby's family, the newest addition to this family is the foster newborn baby Lulubelle. And I just think it's a funny name. The Doctor says that he wishes he could be called Lulubelle, and that's just such a Doctor thing to say, especially this Doctor. I think it suits him really well, that. Anyway, so Lulubelle is the new addition to Ruby's family, and she comes to them on Christmas Eve, and she is a newborn baby, and Ruby was born on Christmas Eve as well, or she was found on Christmas Eve, and she was a newborn as well, so, like, they both have Christmas Eve birthdays, which is a coincidence. Oh, that's it. I forgot to mention, the goblins, the main antagonists of this episode, they feed off coincidences, and every time a coincidence is brought up, thunder sounds. And I mean, I just think they suit this episode really well. This episode is a fun, light-hearted episode, and goblins are like mythical creatures, and maybe this could be connected to the Toymaker's Legion, but like the Toymaker plays around with like the laws of physics. They are just a game to him, and they said to the Doctor that his legions are coming. Now maybe this is just a warning from the Toymaker's legions that the goblins were the main antagonists of this episode, because goblins are fictitious creatures. They even sing that the Goblin King, people thought that he was a myth, but he's an actual thing to them. But maybe they are all a myth, created by the Toymaker or the Toymaker's legions, or they are part of the Toymaker's legions, and they are now breaking through now that the Toymaker has been defeated by the Doctor, and they are trying to bring him back. But maybe I'm just reading too much into it. But I just think it's funny. They have a little song. The goblins are just so funny. Some one-liners from the goblins are just so funny. The goblin song is amazing. The Goblin King, and they are actually a threat. They managed to tie up the Doctor and Ruby, but of course they managed to escape quite easily. But also they were 1 second away from not only eating one baby, but eating 2 babies. Yes, that's right, they kidnap Lulubelle, but once the Doctor and Ruby save Lulubelle, the goblins travel back in time to kidnap Ruby so that they can eat her, but the Doctor turns up and saves her. And actually, when he realises that Ruby has been kidnapped in the past, the first scene that we saw in this episode is revealed to be a scene from later in this episode, with the Doctor turning up to save Ruby from the goblins. So it's a very Moffat-y episode. Like Stephen Moffat liked to jump around with time and have stuff that happened earlier in the episode actually happen later in the episode, and that's what we get in this episode as well. And I think it actually works really well for this episode. And even brought up in this episode, there are similarities between the Doctor and Ruby. Like, the Doctor and Ruby were both abandoned. They both don't know who their real parents are. There's just so much similarities between these two, and they bounce off each other so well. They call each other out on the bullshit that they spew to each other, and they, just seem like really good friends, and that is what we need. We need a best friend dynamic, and this episode laid the groundwork for that really well. And It was just amazing. So, my final thoughts on this episode was that it was just a bit of fun. It was amazing, just some fun, Christmassy things in Doctor Who. It was just a fun episode. If you were going into this expecting lore-shattering revelations and like a really serious episode and like just an amazing Doctor Who episode, I think you will be a bit disappointed. But if you went into it just expecting a fun Doctor Who episode, I think you will be pretty happy with it. It was just a fun episode, and I mean, it was just great to see Doctor Who back at Christmas. But that is just my thoughts. Let me know down in the comments below what you thought of this episode. Did you like it? Did you not? Are you excited that Doctor Who is now back on Christmas Day? And are you excited for Ncuti Gatwa, Emily Gibson's new Doctor Who series? But with all that out of the way, if you like this video, don't forget to leave a like, also subscribe and share it out, and I will see you in the next one.